sense and humanity. That's
all right. Well, let me bring in another guest. Stop Anti-Semitism put Guy Christensen, a pro-Palestinian TikTok influencer, on the list too, because he openly endorsed and glorified the murder of 2 Israeli embassy employees in a Washington, D.C. shooting. So the timeline of that.
Meet Guy Christensen, the new face of a modern ideological extremist, a Librad Jihadist, as I like to call them, a kind of post-religious zealot. Like his counterparts in traditional jihadist movements, he also clings to a moralized, delusional worldview and despises the classical liberal world or the Western world. And just like any true jihadi, he believes that his imaginary utopia is so righteous and pure that any action taken to achieve it becomes justified. In this interview, Piers Morgan calls him out for idolizing a leftist social justice terrorist who murdered an innocent Israeli couple in Washington, D.C., as well as inciting on the murder of Israelis in the U.S., which is a crime.
The suspected terrorist accused of fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., has ties to a radical left-wing group that spearheaded Black Lives Matter protests and openly supports the Palestinian cause. Elias Rodriguez, 31, allegedly confessed to the murder and was heard chanting "Free, Free Palestine" as he fired his weapon into the victims late Wednesday night. Rodriguez had previously been associated with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, a far-left organization known for pushing anti-Israel rhetoric.
Was in May this year, a gunman named Elias Rodriguez murdered 2 employees of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., reportedly chanted "Free, Free Palestine." Now, you didn't want to appear as part of the panel, Guy Christensen, so we'll get their reaction after I've spoken to you. But it's very hard to not conclude that you were anti-Semitic. I mean, you were actively supporting an attack on 2 innocent people in Washington, D.C.
I'm sorry, how is that anti-Semitic? Elias Rodriguez was a natural reaction to genocide.
Well, no, you're actively supporting somebody cold-bloodedly murdering 2 civilians.
They're not civilians. They work for the state of Israel.
Well, they are civilians. They're not in the military.
They work for the state of Israel and they advance the Zionist project on behalf of the state. I think that's criminal.
So any diplomat anywhere in the world is fair game for you?
I mean, it's fair game for Israel.
If being part of the broader state of Israel makes you eligible for assassination with the same faulty logic, you, Guy Christensen, are in the broader Hamas operational machine in the same capacity. So that makes you also eligible for assassination. I stress, of course, this logic is irrational and immoral, just pointing out the irony.
Guy Christensen is not an evil person. He is just an idiot. And obviously, he should not be assassinated for his political views as he incites others. He should just face the legal consequences according to U.S. law. Stephen Weinberg said, "In this world, there will be good people doing good and evil people doing evil. But for good people to do evil, that takes religion." Like his Islamist jihadist counterpart, liberal jihadists also follow an evil religion called radical leftism that also makes good people lose their minds and commit evil acts.
Right, so, but that's anti-Semitism, isn't it? You're targeting them because they're Israeli diplomats.
No, they're not. That is not the same as being Jewish. In fact, I think neither were Jewish. One of them was Christian, and the other, I believe, was atheist, and they did work for the state of Israel. So I stand by what I said. I do not condemn that. But Piers, I hope you know that we have a. Do you know what the ACLU is? I hope you do.
The what?
The ACLU.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. We have a case going on suing over the fallout from this, because I was being smeared as violent, inciting violence, celebrating this murder. none of which is true. And
I take it back. I do not condemn the elimination of those 2 Zionist officials who worked at the Israeli embassy last night, and here's why. Israel has live streamed a genocide to the entire world for the last 2 years, and I could talk to you for days about all the crimes, all the atrocities I've reported on, and when I'm finished, you would still not know 1% of the Palestinian suffering. And you cannot expect to do such a thing in this world without the people standing up to fight to stop you in any way they can, to resist against you. And that is exactly what happened. Do not let yourself be fooled by the media, by the Zionists in this country who are telling you that this was an anti-Semitic terrorist attack. It was not. First of all, the man who was assassinated was a Christian Zionist, proclaiming it so on his social media. He spent his days working at the Israeli embassy, fighting to maintain Israel's genocide and support for that genocide in this country. He is a war criminal. And the same was true for the woman. This was not because they were Jewish, it was because they were Zionists. And a manifesto from the suspect in custody, Elias Rodriguez, who apparently, if we are to believe this is true, he is part of the movement, and he has consistently posted about Palestine. He targeted these 2 because of their connection to the state of Israel, because they are Zionists, not because they are Jews. I'm about to read you his manifesto, which he published with a signature and timestamp hours before the attack, and his name was released by the police. But I want to urge you first to support Elias's actions. He is not a terrorist. He's a resistance fighter. And the fact is that the fight against Israel's war machine, against their genocide machine, against their criminality includes their foreign diplomats in this country and internationally. And I want to remind you that while this attack took the lives of 2 human beings, Israel has murdered thousands of Palestinian civilians in cold blood, without any shame, with pride rejoicing in the streets of Israel over this, and they get no attention in this country, while this attack is being used to weaponize violence against the movement. But we will meet it with our own greater resistance and escalation. And if this manifesto is genuine, if Elias is who the police is saying he is, I wholeheartedly agree. Let's read this manifesto.
we're going to win this case.
Well, I
And
think I mean, look, I don't want to preempt your case, but when you say when you say this murderer was not a terrorist, he's a resistance fighter, and when you restate your belief that the shooting is being used to weaponize violence against Palestinians, but we will meet it with our own greater resistance and escalation. Clearly,
Piers, why does resistance happen?
people will see that as a direct threat against other civilians.
Why do you think resistance happens?
And it's not resistance, it's terrorism. When you cold-bloodedly murder people in the street in DC as a response to a war that's going on in Gaza, that is terrorism.
It's reaction to the genocide.
First of all, it's not a genocide, and every terrorist operates under his own narratives. I certainly not accept your delusive narratives as being true, let alone to justify murder in their name. The level of conviction you demand is not supported by the evidence you provide. On top of that, targeting civilians is never justified in any context. It's always a war crime or terrorism. And that is exactly what Israel is not doing. And that is exactly what Hamas did on 7th of October and consistently do for decades.
He couldn't bear it anymore.
No,
He
it's
wrote the
just
manifesto.
cold-blooded murder. That's what it is.
It's murder. I agree with that.
You agree
I
it's
never
murder?
encourage anyone. I agree it's murder.
Okay, so
obviously.
then he's a terrorist then, right?
No, he's not a terrorist.
What is he? He's a murderer?
Reacting to the genocide. Yeah, sure, he's a murderer.
And he's murdering
But I'm
for...
not going to condemn him.
Do you
I'm gonna
accept he
condemn
was
the
murdering
genocide
for...
that
Do
spurred
you accept
him.
he was
The
murdering
genocide
for...
he couldn't bear watching torn apart Palestinian
Sorry,
children.
wait a minute. Do you accept that he was murdering for political reasons?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, then that's a terrorist. That's literally the definition of a terrorist.
The accurate definition of a terrorist is broadcasting terror as the primary tool for political change, as the primary objective. Targeting civilians, not military. So Rodriguez is the definition of terrorist.
You don't even know what terrorism is, do you?
Piers,
Well, guy, you don't, I'm sorry. And it's not funny. with all due respect, you obviously have no idea what the word terrorism means. That is literally the definition.
The word terrorism means
when you
nothing
murder somebody
nowadays.
for political
Everyone understands
motivation,
that. Just like the
that
word
is terrorism.
anti-Semite means nothing when they give it to someone like Miss Rachel.
You've
when they
literally
use
just
it
called him a
as
terrorist, having denied he was a
weaponized
terrorist.
tool.
Right,
They're
you've literally
using it
just
as a
said,
weaponized tool
sorry,
to
Guy, with
conflate
respect, let me
anti-Semitism
speak.
with
Let me speak.
anti-Zionism.
Just to be clear, when I said to you, did he murder these people? You said yes. And when I said, did he do it for political reasons? You said yes. That is the definition of terrorism. And yet your response at the time was he's not a terrorist, he's a resistance fighter. And I put it to you, you have now admitted he's a terrorist.
No, he's a resistance fighter.
Yeah,
it's very clear.
Resistance fighters are not terrorists.
The Palestinian resistance is not terrorists. They're resistance fighters.
But he murdered for political reasons.
Look, you idiot. Let me explain that once and for all to understand. You in the left use words hyperbolically because you have a moralized worldview of this world and you use words as weapons. But the term terrorism is a very specific one that humans invented to characterize, to point out to a very specific thing. When the word terrorism was popularized? After 9/11. Okay, so when you say terrorism, in order for this word to have any meaning, to separate itself from other words, it needs to point out to something like 9/11. Okay. Otherwise, words have no meaning. If with the word terrorism we can mean genocide, war crime, everyone who is evil, okay, then what's the point to have a specific word for a specific thing? There is no point. It loses its meaning, its purpose. The word has no purpose anymore. So terrorism is a very specific thing that mirrors a very specific thing, which is non-state actors using terror as their primary tool, not as a byproduct, because all things can create terror as a byproduct. Okay, if everything that creates terror is terrorism, then everything is terrorism. So, terrorism must create terror or broadcast terror as its primary tool for political change as its primary objective. Because many things can bring political change and they are not terrorism. For example, I might make a robbery and that somehow brings political change. The mayor comes down because of the robbery. Does that mean that I'm a terrorist making a robbery? No. For this to be terrorism, the political change must be the main objective. Israel, its main objective is to defeat Hamas and keep its citizens safe. Its main objective is not to change the politics. So that doesn't qualify as terrorism. Then, terrorists target civilians, not military. So if Rodriguez went to Israel in the battlefield and killed 2 Israelis, 2 Zionists, then he's not a terrorist. But if he targets civilians to broadcast terror as his primary tool for political change as his primary objective, that is a terrorist.
He's a terrorist by your own definition.
I mean, October 7th happened for political reasons. I don't understand what this gotcha is. It's not really a gotcha. terrorist,
It's not a
resistance
gotcha. I
fighter.
just
We have
don't think you
different
know
names
what a
for them.
terrorist is.
No,
So
we
when you
have
say
different
he
names
wasn't
for
a
them, Piers.
terrorist, actually, literally, he was a terrorist. He was waging terror by murdering people for political reasons. That is terrorism. You don't know that, do you?
No, it's a reaction to genocide.
Well,
And
you
I condemn the
that's
genocide.
That's not what you
And we
said
need
in
to
your
get rid
answers.
of the genocide, or else we're going to
Okay.
see more attacks like
People
this.
are going to watch
because
this back and go, hang
people
on a
are
second.
watching
You said he
the
wasn't a
Palestinian
terrorist, but he
children
murdered
blown apart,
he
and
murdered
they
two
can't
diplomats.
stand seeing it any longer. So of course things like this are going to happen. We must end the genocide, so we end all of the violence that comes with it.
Guy's Christensen proposition that the suffering of the innocent in Gaza is exclusively Israel's fault is ludicrous. Hamas orchestrated this war as part of their terrorist plot to use the death and tears of the Palestinian people to further their jihad, which is the definition of Islamic terrorism, not unlike what happened on 9/11. Islamic terrorism seeks a shock effect that will unite the Muslim world against the West, as well as create sympathy for their cause by radicalizing the useful idiots from the radical left. 710 was intended by Hamas to bring about Israel's maximum military response against the innocent Palestinian civilians. Otherwise, Islamic terrorism doesn't work. Hamas uses tunnels under the city to protect its fighters and civilian infrastructure to protect their weapons, hoping and anticipating that Israel will hit these targets, sacrificing Palestinian children to impress the useful idiots like Guy Christensen, to advance the cause of Allah to conquer the Holy Land. Unfortunately, because of the ignorance and neo-Marxist stupidity of the radical left, this plan worked. And we can expect more of this in the future. Palestinians who invented modern-day Islamic terrorism belong to a martyr culture that expects the ultimate sacrifice to advance Islam. Children are brainwashed in this sick culture of jihadism where terrorists are idealized and seen as exemplars. Sacrifice for the jihadi cause is normalized as the highest virtue. In this context, suggesting that what is happening in Gaza is all Israel's fault is ludicrous. And no wonder it impresses mainly neo-Marxists who are predisposed to see the world in the same binary, the West is evil mindset, like Islamic terrorists do.
We must end the genocide, so we end all of the violence that comes with it.
Right.
You know, this genocide is poison on the world.
So now you've established he committed an act of terrorism. Do you condemn it?
No, I do not condemn it. I stand by.
So you support terrorism? What's funny about that?
Because that's not what I said.
You've supported somebody who murdered people by your own admission for political reasons, by your own admission, who committed an act of terrorism. Literally, that is what terrorism is.
I did not think it was useful to condemn him because it's a reaction to the genocide.
So you don't condemn terrorists?
I don't. This is a gotcha. I don't condemn.
It's not a gotcha. You're gotchaing yourself.
Resistance. I don't condemn.
You've literally admitted he murdered people for political reasons. That is a terrorist, and so you support terrorism.
Resistance fighter. He's a resistance fighter.
But you admitted he's a terrorist.
I didn't admit he's a terrorist, Piers. Can we move on?
If somebody murders someone for political reasons,
jihadis are not freedom fighters, you fucking imbeciles in the left, illiterate fools. My friend, The same time you were drinking coffee with your liberal friends and talking about gender equality and how many are the genders, I was watching jihadi videos. Suddenly, after 7/10, you came to the scene and you know what are jihadists. If you say to a jihadist, you are a freedom fighter, he will laugh at you, if not kill you. What are you talking about? Jihadists are not freedom fighters. This is classical jihad to conquer the Holy Land. Israel, the Muslims die everywhere. Syria, everywhere. Do you see jihadists caring? Do you see Iran care for the jihad, for the Muslims die in Syria? No, they killed. The Assad regime killed hundreds of thousands. Do you see the Muslim world care about the ISIS when ISIS were killing Muslims here and there? Did you see demonstrations? No. The problem with Israel is that it's in the center of the caliphate. If you see the map, Israel is in the center of the caliphate. Okay. It goes against the Islamic mythology. Okay. These are the reasons they hate Israel. They hate Israel because it's Jewish, not because of they are freedom fighters, not because they are Martin Luther King. The mere fact that you are intersectional, woke, critical thinking school liberals and you align with jihadists is a testament of how much deluded you are. These jihadists are the complete diametrical opposite of your mindset. Do you think that when Palestine will be free, although they never existed, but never mind, yes, it will be free. If you replace the liberal democracy of Israel with a Syria type terrorist state of Palestine, Iran rule terrorist state of Palestine, it will be a liberal utopia. Intersectionality, gender identity, gender theory. This is what you think it will happen. No, it will be a totalitarian, theocratic dictatorship of the worst kind. It will be almost an ISIS state. Jews, they will be all genocide. Not even, if you see a Jew in this place, will be like you are seeing a unicorn. Okay, forget Jews. They will not exist. Even Christians, they will be prosecuted like in Syria right now, like everywhere. Okay, you will replace a liberal democracy with almost an ISIS state. So, are you serving freedom fighters? This is for freedom. Is an ISIS state freedom? No, the liberal state is the freedom, in fact. Israel is the freedom. Israel is for intersectionality. Israel is for gender studies. Okay. I mean, so, to conclude, my friend, you don't know anything. You leftists need to separate your wishful thinking, your ideas with reality. The world is not in your Marxist utopia, in your mind. Okay? The world is not separated with oppressed and oppressors. It's another thing what you have in your mind, in your fairy tale, in your Little Pony rainbow fairy tale, and another thing what is actual. So in reality, so if some people are jihadists, even if that is not doesn't feel very well in your sweet heart, that doesn't mean these people are not jihadists now, because it doesn't fit with your Marxist plot of the identity. You are social justice warriors, and you support the worst kind of theocratic totalitarian dictatorship in world history. Can you not see this contradiction? And you name that freedom fighters just because they have the right Marxist identity, just because they are the proletariat, just because they are the weak, the oppressor, the oppressed. That doesn't mean they are good. And are they really weak? Palestinian is a made-up thing. Palestinians are just Arabs. Are the Arabs weak? They have a whole continent. The KGB, my friend, in the 60s, the KGB came because they had a PR problem, because the Arab world was so big and Israel was so small. The KGB advised Arafat to invent an ethnic identity called the Palestinian. Palestinians have the same ethnicity as Jordanians and as Lebanese. They are all Levantine Arabs. They come from the same place. They share the same DNA. They have similar culture, not identical, similar culture. They have the same vocabulary. They have the same religion. These are the same people. There is no Palestinian ethnic identity. So you are a propaganda tool of
No
the
one can say
KGB
that they didn't know.
to present a jihad as a civil rights movement of the little people, and you want to erase the only Jewish state from the Middle East. You want to erase all non-Muslims from the Middle East. This is what you are trying to do. You want to bring jihadist terrorists rule over the birthplace of Jesus. Do you think if Palestine is established, people will travel to visit the birthplace of Jesus? There will be travel and tourism. Do you think in the Easter, when Greeks light their candles from the Holy Land, the Holy Light, you think this will still happening? No, you will exclude all Christians from the birthplace of Jesus in the name of liberal, although you bring the worst totalitarian dictatorship imaginable. Thank you very much.
They are a terrorist. Do you not know that?
He's a resistance fighter, Elias Rodriguez.
But he murdered people for political reasons. That's what you told me.
Yeah, I believe he murdered them for political reasons.
So he's a terrorist.
There you go.